Hey guys, today we're going to be reading chapter 25 in Serafina and the Twisted Staff. Standing in the cave with Wesa, Serafina tried to imagine all that had happened when the conjurer attacked her mother and the cubs, the bearded man casting his spells and twisting vines. The cubs must have been terrified. Is that why he attacked? She asked Wesa. Did he want the cubs? He's been capturing animals of all kinds, he said. That's why they're fleeing. They sense the coming danger, and that's why you and I must take the cubs and leave this place. Serafina. As soon as you are rested enough to travel at speed, we must follow your mother's path and join her. Wesa's words were a shock to her. She longed to see her mother again, but her heart ached painfully at the thought of leaving. We can't fight this darkness, Serafina, Wesa warned, seeming to sense what she was thinking. We must flee these mountains. But I don't understand, Serafina said. Tell me what's going on. Why is all this happening? Why did my mother send me back to Biltmore? Your mother loves you and her cubs more than anything in the world. She thought you'd be safe at Biltmore, but she was wrong. Is Biltmore in danger? Serafina asked in alarm. Everything's in danger, especially Biltmore. What? Serafina said. Then we need to help them, Wesa. We can't, he said, shaking his head. He's far stronger than we realized. He's even stronger than when he killed my family 3 weeks ago. He's gathering more and more power as he comes this way. His power is tied to the land, to the forest, and the people and animals he controls within it. But Vanderbilt and his vast estates stand in his way of controlling this region for himself. But who is he? Who is this man? She asked, panic building up inside of her. He's a shifter, like the catamounts. He can shift into a white-faced owl at will, but he uses his power for evil to try to control the forest, to steal from it, to take its animals and its trees and the magic within it and bend them to his will. My people call him the darkness, for he is a future through which they cannot see. Shifters inherit their gift, pass it down from one generation to the next, but he has taken his power further. He has spent years learning to twist the world we know to throw curses and cast spells. He wants to control this forest, to make us all slaves, from the smallest mouse to the largest bear and everything in between. He hates the catamounts most of all because he cannot control us. We stand against him. He will destroy anything in these mountains that gets in his way. Are you saying that he's going to attack Biltmore? I don't know by what path or trickery he will come, Wesa said. He's a conjurer of the dark arts. He does not fight with tooth and claw like you and me. He does not fight straight on. He uses subterfuge and deceit to weave his way. He flies silent. He watches like an owl and keeps himself hidden at a safe distance. He concentrates his power into weapons and then sends in his demons to do his bidding. Serafina tried to understand. Do you mean a weapon like the Black Cloak? Wesa nodded. The Black Cloak was a collector of souls, one of the first concentrators of dark power that he ever created. I do not know all the different spells he will cast this time, but the tearing of the Black Cloak wrought a terrible new fury in him. That's what started all of this. That's what's brought him here. Are you saying the creator of the Black Cloak has come alive? Not Mr. Thorne, but the cloak's actual creator? He's never been dead, Wesa said. I don't understand. Where does he come from? My father told me that the old man of the forest lived in these mountains long ago. He was born with unusual powers, but he yearned to develop and control the powers he possessed. He traveled to the old world where he learned the dark arts from the necromancers there. By the time he returned, he had become a powerful conjurer. He found a shattered cave in which to live, like a spider building a nest. He cast spells on the people in the nearby village and enslaved the animals of the forest. Why didn't anyone try to stop him? Serafina interrupted. They did. The catamounts rose up against him and fought him in a great battle. They nearly defeated him. He lost his strength and became but a ghost of what he was. He's been far away from here, gathering new skills and powers in foreign lands, but now he's come back, more powerful than ever. Even as we speak, he's hiding like a rattlesnake beneath a log, letting his venom build up within him, biding his time before he strikes again. Then we need to fight him, Serafina said. Wesa grabbed her by the shoulders so quickly it startled her. Listen to me, Serafina, he said, looking into her face. He's made a staff of twisted purpose to focus his power. It allows its wielder to control animals, to do his bidding against their will. And not only that, he has a new ally, a conjurer with power frighteningly similar to his own. The two of them working together will be unstoppable. They see this as their land, their forest, and their mountains, and they plan to take it all back. And the more they take, the more powerful they become. We cannot fight them. My mother will beat them, Serafina blurted out before she could stop herself, but even as she said it, her chest filled with a dreadful realization. My mother already fought the conjurer before, didn't she? Wesa nodded slowly. That's why she won't fight him again, Serafina said. That's right, Wesa said, but then hesitated. She looked at him. What is it? Tell me. Wesa lifted his eyes and met her gaze. 12 years ago, the conjurer killed your father, Wesa said softly. My father? Serafina asked in astonishment. My true father? She couldn't even imagine this. But how? Why? How do you know about my father? Your father was a catamount like us. All the catamounts knew him. Your mother hid it from you because she did not want you to follow in his footsteps. But he was a great warrior, the fiercest fighter and strongest leader the catamounts have ever seen. My mother and father and all the creatures of the forest fought at his side against the conjurer 12 years ago. That was when the conjurer was nearly defeated. Your father led the fight against him. He was the one who taught my father the expression that my father taught me. The expression? Serafina asked in confusion. What expression? Stay bold, your father used to say when others lost heart. It has been the mantra of the catamounts ever since. Stay bold. My father started that? Serafina asked in bewilderment. But what happened to him? Wesa shook his head in regret. Your mother and father rallied all the allies of the forest and led an attack against the conjurer. They weakened him severely, draining nearly all of his power. They almost destroyed him entirely, but it is the way of his kind that even when he seems to be dead, he is not. His spirit lives on. He hides in a darkness the rest of us cannot see. At the very last moment of the battle, your mother was absorbed into the black cloak and your father was struck down. Your father stayed bold to the very end. He saved the catamounts and the other creatures of the forest in that battle, but he lost his own life. What? Serafina said. How could this all be true? My mother did not tell me any of this. Your mother wanted to protect you, Serafina. She didn't want you to fight battles that you couldn't win. She thought you would be hidden and safe within Biltmore's walls. But it's clear now that all is lost there too. We cannot win this war. But who is he, Wesa? She asked again. Who is the old man of the forest? And who is this Mr. Graythan? Is that the other conjurer you spoke of? Or is it one of his demons? I do not know by what names or forms he and his allies come this time, Wesa said, but I know the conjurer has returned, and he will kill anyone who resists him. As fiercely as your mother has always defended her territory, she knew that no matter how dangerous it was, she must leave this place behind, that she must go forth as quickly as she could to search out a new territory for her and her cubs. She has gone deep into the Smoky Mountains, scouting ahead into unknown forest, talking with the catamounts there, looking for a new place for us to live. We shall find new territory in those distant mountains, a place bright and free, and we shall guard it well. The Great Smoky Mountains will be the last bastion of our kindred, Serafina, the last homeland for those few of us who have survived. Serafina listened to Wesa's words in amazement. She knew the danger he was talking about. She'd experienced the conjurer's spells firsthand. She remembered what it felt like to have the air pulled from her lungs, and she'd witnessed his staff of power at work. But as tantalizing as it was to go with Wesa and the cubs to join her mother in the mountains far away, the path with them was like the city she'd seen in the valley and the train on the mountainside, and the wolves traveling the ridge to distant peaks. Even as these new paths opened up to her, she knew they were not the paths of her heart. She wanted to go back to her pa and Braden and to Essie and Mr. and Mrs. Vanderbilt. Biltmore was her home. If the old man of the forest could steal breath and control animals, there was no end to the harm he could do. He could force Cedric to turn on Braden. He could kill Mr. Vanderbilt with the bite of a wolf. His spy, Mr. Gratham, had already squirmed his way into the house like a rat through a sewer pipe. Maybe it was Gratham who wielded the staff of power that Wesa spoke of, like Mr. Thorne had wielded the black cloak. She didn't know exactly what their plan was, but she had to stop them. Somehow, we must figure out a way to fight, she said fiercely. I will not turn my back on the people of Biltmore. Serafina, you've seen his spells and his demons, Wesa argued. We cannot fight that. I saw the very breath pulled from my sister's lungs even as she tried to say goodbye to me. Come with me and the cubs to find your mother. We'll go up into the Smoky Mountains and we'll be safe there. There are trees and valleys and rivers for hundreds of miles. I'm sorry, Wesa, Serafina said, shaking her head. I have to go back. You told me that the people of Biltmore said you don't belong with them, Wesa said. You told me that you ran away from there. You're a catamount, Serafina. You have us now. You don't need them anymore. Wesa's words crashed into her, but she tried not to listen. She couldn't listen. She knelt down and hugged her little siblings. Go without me, she told Wesa. Take care of the cubs. Follow my mother's path like you planned. Serafina, Wesa said, his voice strong. You don't need them. Serafina felt the emotion welling up inside her, almost too much to bear. She stood and embraced Wesa. She held him tight for a long moment, but then she let go of him, knowing that it might be the last time she ever saw him. But I do need them, she said, and more than that, they need me. She looked at her catamount kin one last time, then turned and headed towards Biltmore. You can't save Biltmore all by yourself, Wesa shouted after she had slipped into the underbrush. I won't be alone, she said.